Hey everyone. Well, we are now officially in December. Damn, this year went by fast. Jeez, why do all these years go by fast when I'm older? Anyway, so as November's over, I figured I'd go ahead and do the ranking of every movie I saw in November, reviewed in 1 minute or less. Now, I have said plenty of times before that I like to go with the tradition of watching classics, like very, very old classics, to honor Thanksgiving, a weird tradition idea, but that's just what I do. However, I didn't do it for the whole month of November, just for 1 week. So just keep in mind, this month I watched random films, and I only did the tradition of watching those classics during the week of Thanksgiving, not the entire month, so just a week. The rest of the month I spent watching any sort of film, random, no base or anything, but we have December now, so I'll be watching Christmas movies. But as for November, let's look. Here's a little relatable type of movie. American Beauty, starring the very creepy Kevin Spacey, is a film that talks about the tragedies and problems with having a marriage relationship and all the things that can come between it. There's Kevin Spacey, who plays an unhappy husband who starts to fall in love with a high school girl, something that you can tell hasn't aged well for what we know Kevin Spacey has now. Regardless, this movie was a lot of fun, in my opinion. I mostly enjoyed it being very relatable towards how rough marriage relationships can be and just how much you can get from each side. Like, they show off the certain different sides between how the wife feels and how the husband feels, and how there really is no one or the other. You're on one of their sides, and no matter what side you're on, it's a perfect choice. That's kind of how marriages go. Like with my parents, for example, they seem to be two sides. I have to always choose a side. Overall, this movie's pretty nice and definitely has a great style to it. A little comedy classic, Hot Tub Time Machine, tells the story of four friends who find a hot tub but then are transported into the 80s. This Back to the Future type of movie is, it might be a more comedically over the top style comedy. It's definitely not better than Back to the Future, but I do think it's funnier. The main cast definitely have their own unique ways of being funny, and there's lots of fun to the film's idea, going with things like changing the past or doing things to enjoy changing the past. It's just all that kind of stuff. Just provides lots of fun little moments in it, with the performances and all that. It's also interesting seeing a bunch of 80s stars have roles in this. Like there's John Cusack, there's Chevy Chase, Crispin Glover, and so much more. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting type of movie that definitely, again, is a more funny version of Back to the Future. It's not better than Back to the Future, but it certainly is funnier. From the interesting minds of Quentin Tarantino, we have Django Unchained, a Western film about the controversy surrounding the black cowboys entering our world. What makes this movie so iconic is that it has the most uses of the N word in any film ever. It's used like more than 100 times in this movie. Most of it coming from Leonardo DiCaprio and some of the other white stars. So this definitely caused a lot of controversy hearing the N word used so much, but in the end of the day, everyone in the movie defended it, and I kind of do as well. I mean, I'm not saying we should be allowed to say the N word whenever we want, but we shouldn't really get so upset that we hear it in a movie. It's a movie, okay? What are you gonna do? Gonna punch those characters? They're characters, or I don't know. Anyway, it's a good movie. It's long, sure, but it definitely does its job well, and definitely is something that Quentin made, and I guess I can give it that. A little fun comedy here. Tropic Thunder, the hilariously over the top movie about three actors who film a movie in Vietnam and get caught in a real war situation. There's a lot of stuff to this movie that's funny. There's, of course, the opening, which features three fake trailers, all three being hilariously ridiculous and amazing. There's all the fun performances. There's Ben Stiller doing his usual shtick. There's Jack Black being ridiculous. And, of course, Robert Downey Jr. in blackface. The controversies that are still amazing. It's great because even the movie itself is aware of how controversial it is. Personally, I kind of like that him in blackface is both something that we are shocked about both in real life and the people in the movie. So that kind of what makes it funny, the movie being relatable towards us. Anyway, it's still hilarious, great performance, and a lot of the comedy in this movie comes from how over the top everything is. It's a lot of fun. There's not much I can say. From the minds of Ron Howard, a director who seems to go in any direction and has really no theme, Backdraft is a story of firefighters and their incapable journeys. I mean, that's kind of how I got out of this movie. I mostly saw it as the day in the life of firefighters. I also kind of looked at it more as to, how tragic the life of firefighters are. How we seem to not give them enough credit for what they do. I honestly have a mixed opinion on firefighters, but after watching this movie, I would assume that it's supposed to be a true be similar to how firefighters work. And I know firefighters have to do a lot to work. I guess just never give them enough credit that they deserve. I think Backdraft definitely does a good job at making firefighters more tragic, kind of giving them more of a storyline to it. So I'll give it that. It's again maybe not so much where I can love firefighters now, but I can definitely give them more credit than they need. Yeah, a fun little 80s comedy for no fun. A Fish Called Wanda, featuring the fun, hilarious cast duos. You got John Cleese, Jamie Lee Curtis, Kevin Kline, Michael Palin, all of them having great collaboration. It's honestly probably one of the best collaborations I've seen in any 80s comedy. This movie has a fun story behind a bunch of criminals and the interesting stuff that goes around these people. Each has their own funny ways. I think my favorite in this movie would have to be Michael Palin. His character really does make me laugh. I like to follow each character and see what each of them provide. Like, which ones make for the funniest, which ones make for the more interesting. It's kind of like this movie. You get a different side with each character. It's also a weird title. It's called A Fish Called Wanda, yet that fish line kind of it's only a minor part of the entire story, so it seems like a ridiculous thing to focus on, but I like it. I like that they're focused on something minor. Okay, so here's a movie I really didn't like. I, Robot, starring Will Smith. What did I like about this movie? Was it because it starred Will Smith, who is now considered a slap in the face, if you know what I mean? No. Was it because that it focuses on something that definitely seems scary to look at for our future? Nah, it was mostly because of how stupid it was. I found this movie too stupid, honestly. I found the robots dynamic of robots with feelings. This movie does so much that I've already seen before. It's nothing new or exciting. It's the same old stuff. And on top of that, I find the CGI and effects used for the robots to be pretty poorly done. I mean, I know it's supposed to represent how fast robots can be, but I don't know. I feel like they're just trying too hard with it. I just found this movie underwhelming, lame, stupid, and all around not that interesting. Nothing horrible, but I just didn't think iRobot did anything unique. It just felt lazy. Another interesting choice from Ron Howard, Cinderella Man, featuring Russell Crowe and Renee Zellweger. A story of a boxer who lives a romantic lifestyle and has to go through all struggles to things. What made this movie a tad underwhelming is probably, in my opinion, it just feels like Rocky. It feels like Ron Howard's Rocky. I know it's based on a true story, but it still just feels like Rocky. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I did appreciate that it did focus on more true story arcs, but for the most part, the whole boxing and romance side, it all just felt too Rocky for me. I mean, Rocky has a lot of good stuff going for it. This one's a true story, so I guess I should focus on what's actually true and rather what's made up. Is Rocky based? I need to look back if Rocky was based on something or not. But overall, Cinderella Man is okay, but it just feels too Rocky for me to say it's great. I'm sorry. Sugarland Express, the directional debut of the awesome, amazing, incredible Steven Spielberg. Yes, this is where Steven Spielberg got his start. It wasn't Jaws or any of those other great movies. It was this. Actually, I went all the way back, but this is the first theatrical film he directed. Sugarland Express tells the story of two people who want to try to make their way up to Sugarland, so they hijack a police officer and hold him hostage to get there. The movie features lots of car chases, lots of interesting ideas going for it. It's a all-around crazy film. And does it really feel like Steven Spielberg's type? A little bit. There's like a few aspects in this movie that feels Steven Spielberg. For the most part, I mostly just have to look up his name in the credits to recognize it, but overall, this definitely is a alright start. He definitely does a fine job with how Spielberg would begin to then go on to make such awesome movies, so it's always great to see where some of the greatest begin, and I definitely was interested in this. As for the week of Thanksgiving, these were the two classics I watched. First up is To Catch a Thief. From the amazing Alfred Hitchcock, To Catch a Thief is a very fun story about a guy who's accused of being a jewel thief, so he's getting tested throughout the whole movie till he spills the beans, only for the reveal that it wasn't him, and we get a awesome Hitchcock plot twist that just makes this movie feel as great as most of the other Hitchcock films. Alfred Hitchcock is such a great director. I've seen Psycho and The Birds. Those are two movies I can rate because they're 60s type, and those I can say are really great movies. Alfred Hitchcock really does a good job with his suspense and plot twists, and To Catch a Thief is definitely no exception. Next is Fear and Desire. This was the directional debut of the also pretty awesome Stanley Kubrick. Yep, this was where Stanley Kubrick got his start, with Fear and Desire, a war film that, honestly, that's all I can really remember from it, being a war-based movie. It was alright. I mean, I can't really say, there wasn't a lot of aspects this movie had that felt like Stanley Kubrick. I guess, like, some of the character interactions in this movie had a bit of a Kubrick style, but aside from that, Fear and Desire just feels like another random film. I only watched it because I knew this was where Kubrick got his start. So, yeah, I mean, I guess aside from the few of the interactions, most of it just kind of goes on. I mostly just say it's alright. I mostly just looked at it to see how much of the Kubrick side I can get from it, like with the visuals or the camera, the cinematography, all that. But the only thing I could get out of it were the character interactions. That was really it. So yeah, Catch a Thief is great. Fear and Desire was just alright. And the last movie I watched for this month is this movie, Year One. Okay, so why did I watch this? Well, this comedy starring Jack Black and Michael Cera. Come on, those two are hilarious. That's why I watched it. Tells the story of the very beginning of our time, where these weirdos just go through all sorts of the old historic things, like things from the Bible to everything else. It's more of a spoof of, the whole Bible thing, and it's it's definitely not good, but I can't say it's awful. I mean, some of it was alright. I mean, I guess Jack Black and Cera didn't have a bunch of funny moments, but they definitely had their parts. The movie features some other fun little characters appearances, like David Cross, Christopher Mintz-Plasse, and honestly, a pretty hilarious cameo by Bill Hader. Like, Bill Hader's appearance in this movie is probably the best part, in my opinion. Overall, Year One is definitely not a good movie, but I can't say it's bad. I can at least forgive it for trying to be a good spoof. It's just, kind of missed the mark, obviously. It's obviously left a lot of people cringing. So now I'm going to get through the whole month of December watching Christmas movies. After that comes 2024. Wow. I didn't know we'd go that fast, but we did. I literally see my mustache growing, so yeah. Damn. See you all next video.